Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. We got a good one for you. Me and this particular guest, we go back to 2016, and we watched her career just explode and blossom. Vocal producer, engineer, Grammy Award winner, all kinds of stuff. Welcome to the place, Miss Simone Torres. Hi.
Thank you so much. I feel so honored to be here with y'all.
We're honored to have you. Are you kidding? We are in the Melody Room at Fab Factory, which is a great live room, which you got to come take a tour. She just took a tour.
Yeah.
It's Disneyland.
It really is. It's huge. It just doesn't end.
Yeah.
It's got good sound in here, Herb.
And and it also has cookies. It comes with cookies that will but that's a whole other story. What's amazing, Simone, is the number of things you're doing. So, from as a singer, as an artist, as an engineer, as a vocal producer, somebody who's doing nonprofit kind of work. Is that just the way you're structured? Do you need to have a lot of stuff going on?
Yeah, I think that for a long time, I stayed I'm going to pursue vocal production engineering, and I stayed there. But then as I've gotten older, I was like, okay, I'm passionate about these other things. I don't know, I just feel like I have to be doing these other things. So it's been really lovely to venture out into those other things. And the engineering and vocal production piece has given me, one, a platform for those things, and two, a skill set to be able to.
And they often, I find, because I'm built the same way, I often find they overlap.
Absolutely, they do.
And when they overlap, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
It just feels like a continuation of the mission.
100%. And it's funny, like when I think of okay, how can I thin things out? It's really hard to, because it's all one thing. Like it feels like it's a lot on the outside, I guess. But to me, yes, it's all one mission.
Yeah.
Same
You got
purpose.
some room for a mix engineer?
To have a mix engineer, I can't mix. I don't mix. Yes. Good team.
Well, you mix voices.
I do mix voices.
And that's a different thing. Your background as a singer is one. Then you've had, great mentors like Cucurell and so on and so forth. But then did that morph into Simone style?
Yeah.
And what would be Simone style?
A vocal production?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that it was such a blessing to be able to learn under such incredible people. Because so of course there's Cook, but then there's also, I worked with Dream for a while, and Sean Garrett and Tricky.
Dream?
Yeah.
I just did something with him.
Really?
Yeah. I did his first album and his second album, and
no way.
It was cool.
What did you learn from them as a vocal producer?
Different
things from
different folks. I think that I sing a lot more in my sessions than other vocal producers that I've worked with, because that's my background. I think that it's all learning. Vocal production is learning 10 different ways to communicate the same thing, because you don't know who's going to be in your booth, and you just need to be able to say the thing that's going to click with them. And sometimes that's a physicality thing. Sometimes that's singing it, and they'll be like, oh, okay, I understand XYZ from that. And sometimes it's speaking it in plain language. But I think it's just like developing those different tools. And I feel like I've pulled things from different people, especially writing though. Being able to engineer for Dream or Sean Garrett really changed the way that I wrote, because before that I was like, I thought that writing was just, we have to go sit pen and paper and just know what's what. But singing is so much of who I am, and watching them sing, the dummy lyrics come out and the mumble lyrics, and then that turns into the thing. And it's just like what you're feeling and what's happening like from your soul. I was like, wow, that is so cool. And that made sense.
It often feels to me, or you can tell me if it's true or not, I think at the core of all that is trust.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like you have to engage somebody in such a way where they trust to go where you need to take them. And so you have to I always say that people that are in production, no matter what you are, sit at the intersection of ability and trust.
Yes.
And if you can't trust somebody, it's hard to give them your all creatively.
100%.
But it means that all you guys who do that have to be kind of psychotherapists.
That's exactly what it is.
Right.
Most of vocal production, I think, is that psychology piece. Because if you don't feel safe in the environment that you're in, you are your instrument. So there's not like that separation of like, okay, if I mess up on guitar, there's a level of separation there. When it's you have to be able to feel so safe to try the things that maybe you don't even want to try, but your producer's trying to get out of you. If you don't feel safe to do that, you're just not going to get the best stuff. So that's most of the game, is setting up the environment, making sure they feel really safe, that nothing bad is, obviously going to happen if they sing something wrong. And I think that there's some there's different schools of vocal production. I'm definitely of the school of vocal production that's positivity. That's just like, I'm the biggest cheerleader. It's always yes and. Like if they want to try something that I don't agree with, we'll do both things, you know? It's never not bringing negativity into the space, you know?
You're not the Gestapo person.
No. It's fun. We get to make music for a living. Like it's such a blessing.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite technique you can share with us?
Ooh, like vocal production technique?
Yeah. You make up anything. It doesn't have to be right or not.
Yeah. I mean, I think that people will see from when they watch me a lot, I'm very physical when I'm vocal producing. So like if I'm trying to get someone to lift their sound when I'm giving the instruction, I'll be like this and I'm changing my mouth shape and I'm smiling. So like that's another reason that I sing a lot of the things, because they can see what I'm doing. So I think the physicality of the way that I vocal produce is a big part of it. Yeah.
Really, really interesting. I remember, I think her name was Lauren Daigle that we interviewed in Nashville, and she had a certain way that she really was specific about preparing vocally as an artist. And she had even sort of the science of the vocal cord, where it actually runs and where people think it runs, and
So
what warm-ups really work and what don't, and all these kinds of things. Because it's a science.
It
right?
is a science.
And you can damage things if you don't do it right.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting. When I started the engineering piece and the vocal production piece, I've had to retrain my voice before. Like I've had to, you know, I got my tonsils and my adenoids out in 2012. And so I had to go through voice therapy for a long time. So having that background too of those things really helps me. Like, because if I'm with an artist and they're having trouble hitting something, I know how to go in there. Okay, let's get you so that you're opened up to be able to hit these things in a healthy way. I also know how to hear if they're singing where they're straining, and that's not good for the record.
Right.
Because the hard thing about vocal production is a lot of people think that we're vocal coaches, but they're two separate things. Sometimes what's needed for the record isn't always the healthy thing.
Right.
Right? Like vocal fry. We want that a lot of the time.
Right.
Vocal fry is not healthy. But yeah, so it's very cool to have that tool set that we were talking about of like, how do I get the different things?
Now, speaking of tool sets, do you also use tools? If you have somebody with a lot of vibrato, do you do something with auto-tune?
Yeah.
Do you use tools on things?
Absolutely. So yes. So like if I have someone with a lot of vibrato, and specifically a wider vibrato, right? I'm going to make sure that the auto tune that I'm using isn't set to a key most of the time, because it's going to try to pull that vibrato into the key. And that's when people start to think, oh, I don't like singing with auto tune because it makes me sound auto tune. But it's really that it's locking you to a key. But by using like flex tune, like at a good percentage, and humanize and those kind of things, you can make it so that it feels very transparent. And it's just letting it sit there. It's pulling the ends of notes to where they sit. But it's knowing your tools like that, knowing Melodyne, like super in and out.
Right.
That's like Melodyne I have been in for obviously like years and years and years. And that's like how I really got my start, because I tune as a singer and like not just an engineer. So like knowing to make things lift at the end. If there's an elongated note, instead of just putting that where it's perfect, I'll make it so that as it goes, it's raising by a few cents throughout the note, so that it feels like it's lifting and there's movement in it.
That's usually what I do with my vocals.
Is it possible to try one for us here?
Oh, yeah. I don't have Melodyne here, but like, yeah, like if instead of tuning something so that it's just like, I would be, so that it's feeling like it's lifting.
Gotcha.
That's what I did on my vocals last time. That's exactly what I did. Lifted.
100%.
Absolutely. It was important.
That's great.
Now, engineering, was that a necessity?
Yes.
Gotcha. It's sometimes just easier to figure it out and do it yourself.
Yeah, because it was one of those things where, so I started singing professionally when I was 9 at weddings and corporate events, and I'd go all over the Northeast, and had meeting with Clive Davis when I was 13, and like lots of different things with me as a singer. But I never had one recording that I was proud of. No matter how many sessions I was in, I had little projects that we'd sell CDs, you know, at the gigs that I would do, but nothing ever felt like me. And it kind of really came to a peak for me when I did X Factor, because that video, my audition went like super viral at the time.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like, okay, what is she going to do? And I went, and I was living in San Diego with these producers at the studio house, like trying to make music, but nothing felt like me. And I didn't know how to communicate what wasn't right. I just knew that it wasn't me. And so I knew that, I don't know, I found out then that I needed to learn how to do these things myself if I ever wanted to make the music that I always wanted to. So that started a 10-year journey for me of like really learning these things because I knew nothing. Like when I tell you I was afraid of GarageBand, I know it's like sounds silly, but I think that it's important to talk about because at the time I thought that you needed some innate like ability to be able to start to do these things. That it's not something you could just study, but you can study. Like I went from being the person that knew nothing in my class to at the end, you know, for the MP&E program, I graduated with a 4.0, you know?
Right.
So it's when you care about something and you're passionate about it, you can learn very quickly.
Well, look, you're talking to a guy who thought in the beginning of Pensado's place, stereo bus was something that you got on to go to Sepulveda and had stereo in the bus. I know what that was.
The stereo bus.
It took me about 5 years to even figure that out.
Yeah.
But you're right about, I think, one of the interesting challenges for the audience is now you have lots of stuff available.
Yeah.
And you can consume yourself in that stuff and get lost. Like you have to have a center that then you try to figure out what works for your center and grow your own thing. And the journey's not always fast.
No.
It takes time. You got to grow into it and become who yourself. And don't give up too early before the goodness gets there. Like you have to sort of stay at it.
And even plugin wise, like when you're learning it, it's like, to your point, there's so much there.
Yeah.
It's so easy to be like, okay, I'm not getting the sound that I want. Let me throw another thing on. I'm not getting the sound that I want. Let me throw another thing on. But it's something that you talk about where you're just like, okay, you need to know inside and out. Like pick a few plugins that you really want to learn and try to get, you know, a compressor, an EQ, you know.
How do you get the vocal for a song to fit in the vocal? I like to do the music first.
Yeah.
And then I don't play with the vocal.
Yeah.
And then at the end of all of that, I have to dig out a play for the vocal.
Yeah.
Should I do it backwards?
No, I mean, so when things come to me, normally the track is either done or it's at a place where it's ready for me. Sometimes, so I'm usually working with a 2 mix in my session because I'll have sometimes close to 100 vocal tracks. So I have a 2 mix for the instrumental and then I have my vocals. Sometimes I get a 2 mix that's like limited to all end and there is no place for the vocal. So then I'm playing carving game. But
you playing what?
Carving game, like trying to make a place for it. So it's not everything is going crazy. But yeah, I think that especially like background vocals, for example, like we were talking about that a little bit, where carving the places for those where you're having doubles and they're feeling like things are supported, but they're not always just feeling like, okay, it's time for doubles now. Like here are the doubles, here are the harmonies. That's something that I really love to do is play with the background vocals.
I love harmonies.
Placement.
So the when you play around on the film and TV side, does that trigger different things and other skills? And tell what's your experience with that?
I love the film and TV side because you get to already like this job is so much of how do we capture a feeling, right? How do we get the audience to feel what the artist is feeling and making it so that you can hear what the artist is feeling. When you go into film and TV, that takes another step, which is really cool because you get to read the scripts, you get to see where the characters are, and then you get to continue to tell that story through that vocal. So I love it because it's just even more emotive. I get to be even more emotive with my vocal production. So the show,
that information allows you to go deeper into your toolbox.
100%. Exactly. It's like, okay, this is what the character is going through here. Maybe they're going through turmoil. Let me make the background vocals feel kind of chaotic, you know? Like where it's kind of like they're in a cacophony of sound. It's really fun to be able to get to do that. Like,
We've told this story a million times, and the editors, if you cut it out, I'll understand it. But years ago, we had on an Oscar winner who won for sound design for Mad Max 2. And it was a big deal that we had an Oscar winner on, which is one thing. And I asked him, when do you know that you're at your creative peak when you're doing something? And he said that he took acting classes and he learned in an acting class how to cry. And he said when he gets to the point where he's creating and he starts to cry, he's right at the peak. And I think that sometimes film and TV with the information and the visuals allow you as a person to indulge deeper and touch. And the really good ones get that emotion back onto the screen.
So, can you give me his number?
Yeah, I'll get it to you. I'll shoot it to you. The other part that's fascinating about what you do, I think, is in all this multitasking. There's the raw nature of artists. So I got a couple questions for you there.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll throw out a name and you give me an experience. Engineering Cardi B.
Oh, it was great.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Because sometimes I think the production person learns from the artist as much as the artist learns from the production person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like
So
it like that.
Yeah.
there's different.
That was a crazy record to be involved in so early in my career, too. I like it and be careful.
Did really well.
And then you, Chlöe Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that?
She's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so fun.
I think
'Cause she's
there's
a vocal producer as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So getting to work with her, I usually work as her engineer, and getting to have those conversations with her and to build things, it is so fun. Yeah. It's very just super collaborative and creative. Yeah.
It's exciting to see the all stuff you're doing because I see how it informs the next thing you're going to do.
Yeah.
So now you have groups of folks that you put together and work with women's groups and other things. And all, but what itch does that scratch for you?
Forever, mentoring has always been really important to me. So like even when I was at Berkeley, I was head of the mentoring program for the production engineering department, and I was a senior peer advisor. And that's always been really important to me. So now to be at this point in my career where I'm able to help in any kind of way that I can, it just feels really important and something that is necessary. So soundtrack mixers is something that my manager, Ruchi Parikh, and I started. And it's really great. It's just to create more community events for women, non-binary folks in the tech side of audio specifically. Because it's very easy for us to feel kind of alone in this. And when we feel alone in this, it's easy to let ourselves stay in situations that are not always the best because we don't have people to talk to about it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So just creating more community events has been really awesome. And they've been super, super successful. We didn't know how many people would want to come to them. In our inaugural one, we had about 80 people in a waiting list.
Yeah.
And that's just women, non-binary people in the tech side of audio specifically. So producers, engineers, mastering engineers, post-production people, mixers. So that's been really great. And then, and then expanding that, the things that I'm doing with the Leading Ladies award that I got from the Latin Recording Academy. I'm a mentor for them now as well. And I also I've mentored before just because I want to. So I kind of feel like I have like a little, I don't know, a little army that's out of like people that I've mentored. Because I work a lot with She's the Music, which is an amazing organization, and Women's Audio Mission. And we are moving the needle. I'm on the board of. I'm in the middle of talking to another one that is starting as well. So
There's nothing like hearing one of those songs of yours on the radio, is there?
No. The first time I heard one of the songs I did on the radio, I absolutely cried. Did you guys?
I was driving down the road and I had a song I was working on. This was way, way, way in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And
it was in Atlanta too when I heard my first thing on the radio.
And I was in a kind of zone. I was going down 40, that long stretch of highway.
Yeah.
And I was kind of sleepy and it was kind of dark. And one of my songs came on the radio, and I was like, man, I don't want to hear that. I turned it off, and then I said, oh shit. It was supposed to be a contest.
Yeah.
And I won the contest.
Whoa.
And I cried, but anyway. I got it all done. And
that's awesome.
There's nothing like that. There's nothing like hearing your work.
No, it's like such a validation piece of like, okay, I'm on the right path. My first song that I heard on the radio that I worked on was "Be Careful," Cardi B, and I was on my way to my part-time job. So I did AV at hotels, to keep myself afloat for a long time in the beginning of my career, way after my first Grammy nomination. And to be able to like be on my way to this job that I hated, but that allowed me to pursue what I loved.
Absolutely.
And to hear something like that, I was like, whoa.
Do you like to try and put grooves in your work and vibe and emotions and energy, things that you can't hold in your hand?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I think that if anyone watches me work, I'm always like, rocking. And my friends make fun of me because they'll be like, look, I'm Simone vocal producing.
Absolutely.
But it's so much of it. Like, I feel like you can hear it. It's different if like you're moving with your work, and that's how you groove a vocal. That's how you pocket a vocal. That's how you, yeah.
And you feel that in your body.
100%.
Like it's not something that's an intellectual thing. It's definitely in your body.
Yeah.
Now, little tips, and since nobody's watching, next time you do an event, have it at Fab Factory.
This is very, very nice.
Talk to me about it. Okay, back to the show. So now the future, it feels optimistic. It feels like, are you excited about where it's going, the possibilities? Does AI give you the heebie-jeebies, or do you see it as an opportunity?
I think that we can't fight it because it's inevitable.
It's here.
It's here.
It's just right here.
AI. Yeah. We are AI.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel optimistic about the future. I think that it's interesting to be at this point in my career is really interesting to me because to now be doing my artist project that I've wanted, it's the whole reason I started all of this, to be able to do that alongside of my vocal production and engineering work, and to be able to have the knowledge to make the music I've always wanted to make feels really cool. So I feel like I'm at this point right now where it's kind of a culmination of the last 10, 15 years of preparation. And as far as AI, I think that, it's just finding out ways to work with it and ways for it to help us. And I think that it's also creating new revenue streams for creatives in good ways. Like there's a company that I work with where they're trying, because there's no laws around AI right now, right? It's the Wild West. Like you see vocal models being made of people who are not consenting to their vocal models being made. Right. There's this company that I'm working with, Kits.ai, that they're paying monthly artists to be able to use their thing. Exactly. And so then they're getting paid a monthly check of like every time their image is used, their vocal image is used, which is how it should be, and trying to set precedent there.
Is that with GPT?
No, it's called Kits.ai.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm hearing about that one now.
Yeah. It's very cool.
By the way, are you Hispanic?
Yeah, I'm Puerto Rican.
By the way, I'm Spanish.
You are?
Full-blooded Spanish. My whole family's Spanish.
Wait, really? Are you really?
Yeah.
No
Dad's from La Coruña, and mom's from Asturias.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love Spain so much.
Me too.
I want to go move to Spain so badly. At least part-time. I spent a lot of time there last year.
They need vocal production there, so that you know. So if you move over there, there's work to be done. But now we got to do a thing called Batter's Box, and we can delve into the mind of Simone, which will be. So Dave, fire it up and ask away.
Okay. What was your favorite decade for music?
Oh,
mine was 80s.
Ooh, 60s.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Like old soul singers are like, that's my favorite thing.
Well, you already got this one, auto-tune or Melodyne.
They're different things for different purposes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to lose this one. Major or minor?
Minor.
Favorite key?
I don't have a favorite key, but 6/8, things in 6/8 or 3/4, like have my heart.
I'll give you one. No, I won't. I'll do it later. Lyrics.
Vital.
Reverb.
Space.
Favorite mic.
Tube. I won't say.
Melodies.
Dancing.
True. Strings. Throw them in the trash, man. They don't do any good. Let's move on.
Warmth.
Cheapest gear that you've used in a song?
I mean, I used my phone. In Bent, there's the sound of my washing machine, isn't it?
Well, I love it.
Like recorded on my phone.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all I got. You did great.
Thanks.
But to build on that, when we get to the places where we are in our career, you get an onslaught of opportunities. Try my plugin, try this, do this, hit me with that, hit me with that. And I find that the better folks edit. Like, I can't just take everything and try 100%. Everything. I gotta, do you have some go-tos that are your regular things that you like? What do you use that you like?
So I always loved the Mic DSP P606 EQ. It's like, but I use it just for air on my high end. I love it. I love Mic DSP plugins. They're great.
Yeah,
Colin's amazing.
Colin's the best. He's so brilliant. His wife is so brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And then same thing with their MC404. That's always on my vocal chain too.
Try and get an APB from him. Tell him you said Dave said to give you one.
I'll be like, Dave said.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I will.
Because back when he first started, he came to the studio I was in, and I really liked him, so I helped him out. And then he did a magazine article, and they got about 8,000 views, and so that he became my friend.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, they're such good humans. It's funny, even in college, when I was first starting, I got one of the Mic DSP scholarships, you know? And so like, that's cool to now come full circle and work with them. But yeah, they're always on my sessions.
You know, his daughters made the APB.
Really?
They can code like nobody else.
That's because she's a mathematician.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
They're real young.
So cool. So cool.
So here we are. You have suffered through this interview with Pensado's Place. You've done very well. No, I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. The future of what goes on with your podcast.
Yeah.
I think the goal of making sure people are united and have an opportunity to move forward.
Yeah.
I think when you've spent some time doing what we're doing, part of what you want to do is be noble in 100%. Your career. Because if we don't caretake where we're going, then people are going to abuse the work that's been done.
Absolutely.
We're standing on the shoulders of others. Now people are going to stand on ours.
Yeah.
And I really applaud what you're doing because I know what it takes to do that.
Thank you.
And people sort of understand the pressure, you know, the financial pressure, the giving that you have to do, the constantly being on. That's very emblematic of my career.
Yeah.
And you find that you have to do it because of what's in your heart.
100%.
And then the other opportunities come. So now the problem that you have is that I'm going to be hounding you because I have a lot of stuff for you to do.
Listen, that's great.
A lot of stuff for you to do with us.
That's amazing.
Back at Larrabee when we were trying to do some stuff for a book deal.
Yeah.
And you were in the studio and I was going, oh my God, this lady is so gifted.
Thank you.
That was 2016?
Yeah.
Jeez, man. Here we are.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah, I was the singer in that session.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. You were killing it. I was like,
you.
who's signing her? I know some people.
Thank you.
What's the name of your...
So like my music and things?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my music is anywhere that you listen to music, Tidal, YouTube. So Bent, the first song that I released in February, my first single, we did a music video for it. I did it with all my friends, which is really cool. So amazing Latina female directing duo, Seven Queens, my friends Alex and Kiana, that I danced salsa with. They choreographed it.
Love
and the dance team at USC, they danced in it. So you can find that online. The song is called Bent. But yeah, I'm releasing music every 6 weeks for the next 2 years. I have music lined up. So it's really cool. Now I'm working on the third album.
Off camera, I'm going to share something with you and your team about a new way you can approach releasing music.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know a few people. We're thrilled to have you.
So happy to be here.
We're so happy that you're doing what you're doing. I think, audience, you should understand that you got to give of your heart, you got to care from your heart, you got to make music from your heart, and all the other stuff comes. Like, it doesn't come automatically, it comes because you care and because you hang in there and do the work. And people are watching. You know, there are people that you're inspiring that you don't even know that you're inspiring. And then they come back and tell you later and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea I was having that impact. So proud of you. This is not your last time on Pensado's Place. We got more to do. We got some live stuff to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Audience, you met a great one. Simone Torres, look it up. Find whichever way you want to find. Find her music, find what she's doing to help people, get her techniques, go to YouTube, or find her on Pensado's Place, of course. And we'll see you next week.